Hello, welcome to Metro Public Adjustments Business Opportunity. My name is Art Latanzi. I'm an Executive Vice President with Metro Public Adjustment, and I've been with the company over 19 years. I was first introduced to public adjusting back when I owned my real estate company, which I owned for 25 years. And about 6 or 7 years into the business, I decided to make public adjusting part of my real estate services. Well, the public adjusting did so well that 5 years ago I was able to retire from my own real estate company just to do the public adjusting business. And what made my decision kind of easy at that time was I'm going to be working a lot less hours now, making more money, and doing it without the stress. Now, the presentation that I'm just about ready to show you is going to open your eyes to not only a very lucrative profession, but also a way to help people in need, and that's always a good feeling. In this short presentation, I'm going to show you what we do, how we get paid, a brief history of the company, and how the industry works. So let's get started. What actually we do as a public adjuster is we represent homeowners when it comes to property insurance damage. And the difference between a property insurance adjuster from the insurance company and a public adjuster is that the property insurance adjuster from the insurance company is an actual employee of the insurance company, and they're actually working in the best interest of the insurance company. A public adjuster will make sure that everything is included in what's called the scope of the claim and allow the people to obtain the maximum amount for their property insurance damage. Now, the company, Metro Public Adjustment, has been in business since 1993. They're the largest public adjusting company in the entire United States. The picture you see there is the corporate office, which is located in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. The company is licensed nationally. We have working offices in 8 different states, and we are the founding member of the American Association of Public Insurance Adjusters, which is actually the largest public adjusting association in the country. Now, the job that we let me explain how we get paid as a public adjuster with Metro. First of all, our job is what's called a claim representative, and everybody that first comes into the company comes in under that same position. And the job of a claim representative is to sit down with a client, go over their policy with them, educate them on the type of policy they have and what they're covered for. Now, if there happens to be damage at that property, our job is to determine if that damage is covered under the policy that they have. And if it is, we're going to take some pictures of that damage, and then we're going to get the insured to sign a few pieces of paper, which takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Now, once we get all that information together, we put it inside a claim jacket that we all have, and we submit it to the corporate office. Now, that is the complete job of what we call the claim representative. And it takes about an hour, maybe to an hour and a half during each appointment when there is damage that we would go ahead and write as a claim. So basically, the way we get paid is on a per claim basis, and for an hour's worth of work we're going to receive anywhere between $300 to $500 for an hour's worth of work on average. Now, the tools that we need for a claims representative is strictly just having a camera and a flashlight. Now, just to give you an example of how this works, when somebody has some storm damage to their property and they lose a few roof shingles, and say rain comes in through the house, through the roof, and inside maybe one of the bedrooms, and there's a ceiling that's got a wet spot and the wall might be a little wet, and say the carpet got a little wet. Well, then they call the insurance company, and the insurance company adjuster comes out and they write up what's called their scope. Now, their scope is going to be pretty minimal compared to a public adjuster scope, but just to give you an example, with some missing roof shingles, we're going to go ahead and just replace some of the roof shingles that were missing, and we have a drywall repair where we're going to fix some drywall. We're going to put in a repair to do some painting over the drywall. And if the carpet got wet, we're going to receive some money to shampoo the carpet. And also, like say in the dining room where it came down through the bedroom into the dining room, and even like say there was some cupping of water that was sitting on the hardwood floor, and of course there might have been some wall and ceiling spots, which is also going to have a ceiling and wall repair with some painting. Now, this is how a lot of the claims are settled, and there's nothing wrong with this because people will accept this, but there's a big difference when there's a public adjuster that comes out on the same type of claim. And you're going to see here that this scope here is quite different from the insurance company adjuster's scope. Now, let me give you some examples of why this takes place. First of all, how many people are going to realize that you cannot patch a roof without damaging more roof shingles? And if there's wet sheathing, which is wood that sits underneath of those roof shingles, and that sheathing gets soft, well, now that sheathing has to be replaced. And say with rain coming in through the roof into the attic and there's insulation in the attic, well, now that insulation has to be replaced because it loses its R value. So I think you may get the idea here of why there's so many different variables in a public adjuster scope than there is with the insurance company adjuster scope. Now let me take you a step further with this scope. And I'm not going to go through every step here, but just to give you a further idea how this works, when carpet gets wet, that carpet is damaged. And there's only one way that you can fix wet damaged carpet, and it's not by shampooing, but it's by replacing the carpet. Now the insurance company adjuster knows this, but if the insured doesn't know it, this is what they're going to accept, just shampooing the carpet. Now also, say there's a piano in the room, and the piano has to be moved. Well, there's a cost to move that piano. And then there's a cost to move that piano back into the room. And because the piano was moved, well, now there's going to be a cost to retune that piano. And again, these are the things that people wouldn't think about when it comes to getting the proper settlement for their damage claim. I'm going to give you an idea of what we have to work with, which is quite a bit. Now, first of all, pretty much everybody knows they're covered for fire, but there's a lot more to it than a fire. Say, for instance, there is a fire in the neighborhood and smoke comes into your property and your property has smoke damage, which now will be covered under your homeowner policy. Along with smoke damage, say somebody fires up the fireplace and the dampers close and all that smoke goes through the house. Well, that's also covered under a homeowner policy. Or say there's a grease pan fire in the kitchen and grease and smoke get all over. Well, that's also covered with the homeowner policy. And lightning, well, any type of lightning damage, no matter what happens with lightning hitting the house, whether it causes lightning spots or lightning damage when it comes to burn spots, or just a matter of setting out a surge throughout the house damaging electrical equipment, is covered. So any type of lightning damage is covered. Also, explosions are covered, but the explosion doesn't have to take place right there at the property. It can be anywhere in the neighborhood. If it causes damage, it's a covered loss. Ice damming, weight of ice and snow, these are common experiences that people have during the winter months, which is covered under the homeowner policy. Any type of collapse in the property is now covered. If a vehicle drives into the property and it causes damage either to the exterior or interior of the house, this is a covered loss under the homeowner policy. Wind, if wind causes any kind of damage, it's covered. If it blows a tree down and causes damage, it's covered. If it blows any roof shingles off the house, it's a covered loss, or a piece of siding off the house. If rain comes in and causes water stains anywhere throughout the house, this is a covered loss. Hail, tornadoes, hurricanes, all covered with the homeowner policy. Water leaks, any type of pipe leak, overflow, pipe break, is all covered with the homeowner policy. It doesn't matter who did it. It doesn't matter how it happened. It's covered. Any type of theft or vandalism. Now, if there's vandalism that happens during the course of a 1 year period, you can still write this vandalism claim and a theft claim, and they do require a police report. Accidental damages, and now this is where a lot of people are getting surprised with their homeowner policy. And their accidental damages, meaning that anybody that damages anything at the property is covered under the homeowner policy as long as it was an accident. For instance, if you walk through the house and you spill bleach while you're opening up a bottle of bleach and stains the carpet, that is covered with your homeowner policy because it was an accident. Or say you have a beautiful tile floor in the kitchen and somebody comes in and drops something and cracks one tile. Well, now a public adjuster gets to write up their scope to replace the whole floor. Now the reason for this is you're also covered for pre-loss condition, so the floor has to look exactly the same after the damage than it does before the damage. And when you replace one tile in a kitchen floor, your floor will not look exactly the same. Also, a common experience that people have when it comes to property damage is melted siding from the barbecue grill. And we write this all year round. A lot of people will grill during the spring, summer, and fall months, but sometimes a storm hits and they don't want to stop grilling, so what they do is they move the grill up against the house and it melts the siding, and this becomes a sizable claim. Also, in the winter, people love to grill during football games, but it's cold in the winter, so what they do is they roll the grill up against the house, and again it melts the siding and it becomes a sizable claim. Now, mold is not actually a covered loss in a homeowner policy, but what they don't explain to people, if mold is part of the damage that's caused by a peril that is covered, then you can claim the mold loss. For instance, if you have storm damage and rain came into the property and caused mold, well, the mold's now covered because the storm actually caused the mold. Same with a plumbing leak. Say if there's a pipe leak in the house and it caused mold, well, see, accidental discharge of water becomes the peril, not the mold. Mold is just part of the damage. And of course you have the acts of God. Now, the acts of God clause never existed, which a lot of people think is somewhere in that policy, but there's really no such thing as an act of God. Myself and anyone else that's listening to this presentation is a part of act of God. Now, part of what we do as services for a public adjuster is we work as a consumer advocate. And that's just a matter of sitting down with people and explaining their policy to them. Now, a very important part of our presentation with the homeowner is making sure that we have the type of claim that's covered in the policy with approximate date of when it happened and how it happened. And this is an important part of setting up the proper paperwork when presenting the claim, because if the insurance company ever asked, well, how did this happen, and if there was any kind of a response of, well, we're not really sure, we just found it this way, well, then the claim will be denied because you need to know how it happened. Or if they say, when did it happen, and they just say, well, it happened some time ago, we don't really know exact date, they can deny the claim because of the fact that you have to know approximately when the actual peril took place. Now, again, let's look at the position of the property insurance adjuster as far as, well, now let's recap of our position with a public adjuster handling the claim. What do we actually do for the insured? Well, again, as I mentioned earlier, we will sit down with the property owner and actually go over the policy with them, educating them on exactly what type of policy they have, because not all policies are the same. Also, we are going to let them know what coverage they have and what they are covered for in that homeowner policy. We will conduct an inspection to see if the damage that they have at the property is covered under the policy, and we're going to take pictures of the damage, and we're going to fill out the paperwork to get the insured to represent us in the insurance claim process. Now, what do we get paid to do this? Well, on average, we're going to make anywhere between $300 and $500 due to the fact that it's only going to take about an hour's worth of work, and this is based only on a $5,000 claim. So we're not painting any kind of pie in the sky situation, because we can show you bigger numbers, but this is what we base on an average claim. Now, the more we make, the bigger the claim. So on the examples I've been showing is based on a $5,000 claim, and how this comes about is where a claim is paid to Metro Public Adjuster where the fee is like $1,750. Well, the claim rep gets 20%, and 20% comes to $350 for that hour's worth of work. Now on a $10,000 claim, now we're getting $700 for an hour's worth of work, still doing the same job description. And on a $20,000 claim, we're getting $1,400 for an hour's worth of work. So the bigger the claim, the more we make, and it doesn't take any longer to write a bigger claim, whether it's a $20,000 claim, a $40,000 claim, a $60,000 claim. The job description remains the same. Now, there's other positions that are available when you become a claim rep with the company. For instance, there's the inside adjuster and the field adjuster. These are the person that gets assigned the claim once we turn it in. This is a full-time position where they go out and revisit the property, and they're the ones that write the scope and negotiate with the insurance company adjuster. Then we have what's called property inspectors, estimators, managers. These are people that are actually hired by the field adjusters to assist them in adjusting the claim. And of course, if you'd like to be a trainer and you train people, you can make a lot of extra money in our business by training other people. Now, there's the claim representative position where we start all out at 20% of the company fee, where I showed you where we get $350 for an hour's worth of work. But you can now be promoted to what's called the senior claim rep position. You get an increase up to 25%. So now for an hour's worth of work, we're looking at $437. And the next position you can be promoted to from senior claim rep is the regional manager, and that regional manager is now getting 30% of the company fee, making $525 on average for an hour's worth of work. And I came from a real estate company business where I had a business there for 25 years. And when you look at this chart here that shows a typical business, you're going to see like there's a lot of things that we have to do as a self-employed business owner. Now, this is all kind of neat when you first start out in business, but it can get old rather fast. And when you go into the Metro business, you don't have any of those headaches that you had with your other business. For instance, we can work on full-time or part-time hours if we wish. There's no inventory. There's nothing to buy or sell. We have a tremendous training and support system. We have a residual income situation where you can really get unlimited income through this business. We offer advanced payments, full tax advantages, everything that you can have in a typical business, but without all the headaches. Now, how do we get our business? Now, first of all, what we do is make sure that everybody that comes in our business realizes it's that a referral type business. One of the first things I did when I got into this business was make sure everybody I knew I was going to be a public adjuster. And to do that, I spent 15 minutes to 30 minutes sitting down with people I knew, explaining to them what type of policy they had. And at that point, all it did was mushroom into a six-figure income. And all this does is make people aware of exactly what your service provides and how they can use your service. Now, when they're doing policy reviews with you, you're going to find that almost 50% of the time there's actually a claim sitting there that they weren't aware of that qualifies them through their existing policy. Also, there's other ways that we help set up a referral program to build your business, and we have clients that actually we are able to offer very nice gifts to by just referring clients to yourself. And then we're involved in home shows and expos throughout the country where we have offices, and some of these shows are very expensive, but they don't charge the reps to participate at these shows. And there's people that you may know, like for instance plumbers and contractors, realtors, that see damage on a regular basis, and they'd love to make some type of an arrangement with you if they find these situations where there's damage that could be covered under their policy, and they'll be glad to refer this over to you. Also, we're able to reopen claims. So if somebody approaches you that they already had a claim and they were paid so much money, you can actually reopen the claim, tell them we'll revisit the claim and review their paperwork and see if it's worth pursuing further damage. Okay, if you like what you heard so far, then what you're going to need to do next is set up a time and day to do what we call an independent contract agreement. At the same time, you're going to need $40 to pay for the training program. When this is completed, we're then going to help you set up to take your state test and give you the training materials to do so. You're also going to need to do 3 training claims to become a claim representative with the company, and this is done with a licensed trainer. You're always with a licensed trainer until you become licensed yourself. The required training is an all-day, one-day training on a Saturday, which we call the Quick Start School. The Quick Start School is included in the $40 training fee, and it also includes your lunch and your training materials. Every Metro office has a 1 hour to an hour and a half training class, which is also included in the $40 training fee, and we have a licensing department at the corporate office that will help you with your bond and licensing application. Now, the company will send you at the end of your training $450, and this is more than enough money to cover any cost that you may have incurred during the training period, including the cost of your bond and your license. And the reason why the company sets this up is because they don't want money to be a deterrent for anybody who would like to be a public adjuster. So money is not a concern. All you need to do is think about investing a few hours a week to see if this profession will work for you. Now, if you have any other questions or concerns, all you need to do is contact the person who sent you this presentation, and they'll be happy to answer any further questions that you may have. So, other than that, have a good day and hope to hear from you soon. Bye now.